So what you should do is you should first decide on the problem statement. So now I have actually searched for you can go to Science Direct, that has got only mostly journals. Okay, it will have some conferences also, but it is mostly journals. So I just gave a keyword search as recommender system and healthcare. Okay, so you look at this particular 1 minute here. Hello, யாருங்க சொல்லுங்க. ஆமாப்பா, அது கடைசியில தான் மெயில்ல தான் அவ்வளவு கதை கதையா எழுதியிருக்காங்களே. அவங்க கொஞ்சம் வச்சே தீரணும்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. அதான் எனக்கு தெரியும்பா. அது அதை நீங்க வந்து சிஎஸ்ஜில மட்டும் கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு பண்ணாரம்பிங்க. அப்ப எனக்கு சொல்லிட்டாங்கப்பா ஆல்ரெடி. நீங்க சிஎஸ்ஜில மட்டும் அந்த பிரதீப் இருப்பார்ல, அவர்கிட்ட மட்டும் சொல்லிட்டு பண்ணாரம்பிங்க. இந்த மாதிரி வந்து அங்க வச்சே கண்டிப்பா வைக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு சீடாக்ல சொல்லிட்டாங்களா, மேடம் கிட்டயும் சொல்லிட்டாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு வைக்க ஆரம்பிச்சு. ஜஸ்ட் அது முன்னாடியே அன்னைக்கு ப்ரொபோசல் கொடுத்தோம்ல, அந்த ஹாஃபோட போறோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு அதை வந்து கன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணிட்டு பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிடுங்க. அவ்வளவுதான். சரி. சரி. Okay, so I searched and I got this. This was the first paper which was listed. So you can see the highlights, and that will give you, or somewhere in the abstract you will see that what they have contributed. So here this is a generic scenario. A privacy preserving healthcare recommender system is proposed. Arbitrary distributed data set based collaborative filtering. Okay, this is their contribution. The scheme is evaluated with respect to various attributes in a distributed environment. So this is how they have concluded. Now if you look at the abstract, you will basically have an idea of what they have done, what is their algorithmic contribution, and what gaps have they addressed from the previous works. So here the computation cost of offline model generation is high since these techniques use homomorphic encryption techniques and all those things. So this is where they're going to contribute. So that is what they have mentioned here in the paper also. So you have to take some paper, and if you go through the results section, okay, if you go through the results section, you will know what is the gap. Okay, you have to of course study the algorithm first, then you will know what is the gap. So once you know I'll just show you how the gap is to be looked at in the results section. So they have said that they have done some computation, and the computation complexity is order of ns as compared to order of nm. Okay, if you look at this particular point, and that is one contribution, that is one achievement. If you look at this conclusion and future work area, in future parallel computing techniques would be considered to reduce the computation time of offline model generation process. Moreover, privacy preserving scheme for demographic, social or content based recommendation generation on ADD among multiple parties will also be explored. So whatever they have said as explored could be one potential area for you to contribute something new. Or okay, this paper doesn't talk about the drawback of their work, but there will be one scenario where if you look at it, you will see that they would have said we have not handled these scenarios. Okay, so that would have been we have not handled this particular situation, which can be considered as a future work. That could be their statement. So if you look at that statement, you can try to contribute something on that particular direction. Now what have they done is given in the algorithm. Okay, so This is one sample paper. Okay, the development of an affective-based e-healthcare system for autistic children. Okay, so so abstract, you can see this is the block diagram. Finally, you have to write a paper something like this. So you should know what is your contribution. Without the contribution, you will not be able to publish it. Okay. So this is what they have done. If you look at results and discussion section or the conclusion and future work, you will be in a position to understand that. Okay. So overall system accuracy is 92%. Music therapy has proven to be effective in this research as it helps to calm negative arousal. Okay, you look at this conclusion area. The system as a whole, as a framework, can be expanded to include more options in the affective model, such as more physiological device like heart rate, ECG, PPG, and so on, and other modalities to capture the speech, linguistics, postures, and facial expression of autistic children for proper monitoring of the emotional state. So this, if you could contribute even one section in addition to whatever these people have done, that will be a delta change. So you that can be compared with this paper, okay, as a base paper, and then say, okay, they have not considered these aspects, but we have considered one extra attribute. Therefore, it is going to be a, therefore, is it better or worse? That is, both are research. Saying that don't burn your fingers by doing this because this is not going to help you, that is also research. Typically, you intend to contribute something which is going to be beneficial. So that is what people talk about as research, but saying that this is not possible is also research. So you sciencedirect.com, you can just check so many papers. You can look at IEEE Explore also to get more journal papers or transactions basically. Okay. Google Scholar will have a combination of all, but I prefer that you look at Science Direct or IEEE Explore and IEEE Transactions. If it's IEEE Transactions, you have to go to the individual papers and then try to search. So whereas Science Direct will give you a big chunk. So there is one more article, Artificial Intelligence-Based Public Healthcare Systems. G2G knowledge-based exchange to enhance decision-making process. So you search for it, you can get umpty number of papers. You can even take ideas from multiple papers, combine them, and then do a delta change. That is also possible. Okay. So with that, I think I have given you some idea of how to go about. Is it fine?
I have a small doubt, ma'am. So yeah, should we implement the base paper as well, like the algorithms and the models in the base paper?
Yes. Good question. Good question. When you want to compare, and when you have a data set with you, and when you want to say that somebody else is not good and yours is good, you have to run the same data set on these two algorithms in a same environment. But what happens is many code is available in GitHub. So you can take that code and then try to run it on your data set alone. So that is one option. You cannot say, you cannot take the values given in their paper. Like supposing they had given 92% as the accuracy, you cannot say they have got 92% accuracy, I have got 95% accuracy. No, that is not correct. So for the same data set, in your environment, how does their work behave and how does your work behave? That should be your comparison.
Okay.
But many code is available. If you take a standard paper, the code is available in GitHub. Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on to our topic. So today, yeah.
Sorry, one more doubt. Can we for modification, can we consider implementing a different model that gives a better accuracy? Can that also be considered as a modification?
Yes, that's what. But you will not know prior hand whether it is going to give you better accuracy or worse accuracy, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a problem. Okay, is Tarun and Anurag Goyal there? Tarun and Anurag Goyal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you get to take notes today. And Govind Gopakumar and Hajira Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
So you get to evaluate.
Ma'am, so the project proposal should be one or two, just a brief brief about what we are going to
Yeah,
do.
only 1 page maximum I'm expecting today.
Yeah.
There will be frequent submissions after this from next week onwards, not this week. That we will revise and see how to go about.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, also a lot of papers are on ARXIV. So can we use that?
Beg your pardon?
Ma'am, there's this website called ARXIV. So there are a lot of papers on that. Can
They
we use
have a lot
that?
of papers, but many are not very standard papers. So be cautious in choosing papers, because see, the reason behind asking you to choose a correct paper and from a good journal is you will have the GitHub repository code available. The algorithm stated in those papers will be very clear. You need not and your interpretation or understanding it will be better than searching in some conference paper which has got limited content, or searching in for some a small journal paper which doesn't have enough content. So you need to go into a good journal in order to understand that better. So that is why I shared you this content. So if you look at that paper, you will see that the algorithm is clearly explained. You have got all the components that you can directly start coding without any difficulty. Okay, so that is why you should aim for papers that has basically got a good reputation. ARXIVs, there are some papers which is going to be good. I agree, I'm not saying no. But majority are conference papers in ARXIV, and that is not going to be of good quality, and a conference paper will not be completely, fully, there won't be much explanation in the conference paper. Okay?
Hello, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you show another example and what kind of paper you'd expect in other domains like NLP or computer vision?
I hear only I don't hear any content from your speech.
Hello, ma'am.
I hear only in your speech. I didn't hear any content.
Okay, ma'am. Can you show another example on domains of NLP or computer vision? How do you expect the paper to be?
Recommender system is domain of NLP only, no?
Yes, ma'am. And computer vision are other text to speech in that I'm asking.
You want text to speech synthesis, huh?
No, ma'am. Just in searching paper, we could see there are more laws, so you could see on which one is suitable like that. Yeah, if it's possible to show another example, it would be useful.
Try answer.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, this I gave the keyword as translation, machine translation rather. So I got this deep transformer modeling via grouping skip connection for neural machine translation. So there are transformer based algorithms for machine translation. So this is a modification to that particular algorithm. In this paper, we propose to build a deeper transformer encoder by properly organizing encoder layers into multiple groups which are connected via a grouping skip connection mechanism. So this is their contribution. Okay. So if you look at the general transformer model, it won't have it would have a different architecture for encoder layers, whereas here it is going to be a different. I mean, they have actually rearranged the encoder layers. Then we make our code available on GitHub. So I just now told you. Okay, so you need not code it completely, because many good journals will have papers and will have code in GitHub. So here they have got some 48 layers, which is actually a contribution for them, because the original encoder may not have 48 layers. Then okay, so they have compared it with, okay, these are their contributions. We propose a deep transformer encoder with multiple groups of encoder layer. We successfully train a deep transformer encoder of 4 groups with 48 layers. And then this is their contribution. So how they have encoded, how they have grouped is available here. And their data sets and evaluation. So this is the original, right? Transformer with 6 layers, 24, 36 and 48 layers. And this is multi-groups with 24, 36 and 48. Why did they come to a 48 layers architecture? And then this is a BlueScore. They have used it for analysis. So this is where they have decided on. It should be 24, 36 or 48 is the justification. But they looks like they have not gone beyond 48. So you can probably go beyond 48 layers and then say, see that is it going to be an improvement or not an improvement. That is also one contribution. Okay. But as you keep on increasing the layers, the computation cost is going to be more. So we need to take care of that also. They have not specified more than 48 layers. What is the situation? You can even say 36 layers will work good for a particular language. There is no significant improvement in 36 to 48 layers for, say, Tamil to English translation, whereas for, say, Malayalam to Telugu translation, 60 layers probably work better. But the problem is, if you do that and if you claim that, you have to justify and say why did the translation from Malayalam to Telugu require 60 layers, whereas Tamil to English need not require 60 layers. That justification should be given. So that could be your modifications here. Okay.
Okay.
I think you must start. You must have got some idea now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let me. So we were talking about supervised learning and unsupervised learning, and unsupervised learning will have labels. Unsupervised learning will not have labels. They have features. So features will be extracted, and those features will be used to construct a model in a supervised learning algorithm. Unsupervised learning, you will construct a model which is nothing but grouping of similar items into a single cluster. So we talked about these two examples: spam filtering, then digit recognition, and So you can even go give other classification tags like dog, car, box, etc. Medical diagnosis. Automatic essay grading, I think I said it is difficult, especially if it is going to be objective type questions. It's easier because Google does it. You already have the Google form. Sorry. Already Google form is there where it will try to evaluate the answer and give you if you have objective questions. Okay, but evaluating a essay type question is going to be difficult because you need to understand the semantics of what was written. You cannot do a simple comparison. Even if it is a definition, you probably give a similarity score. Okay, so maybe based upon similarity score, can I say that? But similarity score is done with respect to. I got an idea now. Okay, so similarity score is done with respect to stop words, etc., etc. So you can try to do image-based answer evaluation. You can try to do answer-based, text-based answer evaluation. So what if your answer has got diagrams? How do I evaluate that? So how do I actually compute the similarity? All these things are questions if you try to do automatic essay grading. And then fraud detection. So supposing has this account been manipulated or not manipulated, some credit card stealing, all those things can basically be looked at. Okay, so classification is very important. So you have what is called as model based classification. So where you try to build a model. This is what we have been talking about. Construct a machine learning model. Okay. So where you build a model where both the label and features are random variables. Okay, and you instantiate any observed features, and the query for the distribution of label conditions conditioned on the features. So the challenge is what structure should the Bayesian net have? How should you learn the parameters? Okay, so what happens here is you can start with any observed features. So you have records and records of data. So you can think of some 1000 records, 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 1000, and this will be your features, and you will have the label here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Some 10 features, for example, say. So you will have to collect this record and then take each sample and then try to construct the machine learning model. So we will have a small toy example here, which is basically called as the naive Bayes algorithm. The naive Bayes algorithm is based upon the principle of Bayes theorem. Okay, so what is Bayes theorem? It's a probabilistic model. Okay, so it says probability of A given B is equal to probability of B given A into probability of A divided by probability of B. Am I right? Is it right or wrong? Probability
Yes,
of A intersection B is probability of
A dot probability of B.
no, that is if it is going to be independent events. I'm talking about condition probability here. It's probability of A given B into probability of B, and probability of A intersection B is also equal to probability of B given A into probability of A, depending upon whether A has occurred before B or vice versa. Since LHS is same, RHS will also be same. So probability of A given B into probability of B is equal to probability of B given A into probability of A. So if you from this, if you do probability of A given B, that is equal to probability of B given A into probability of A divided by probability of B, which is exactly what I had here. So this is, it is based upon the Bayes theorem and conditional probability. So here we talked about digit recognition, where I said that whatever you write can be put into a 3x3 grid. Okay, 3 cross 3 is probably very naive. You can normally go for a 7 cross 7 or a 9 cross 9 grid for processing. So you have one feature for each grid position I comma j, and the feature values are basically on or off depending upon whether intensity is more or less than 0.5. So you write number 2 here like this. So there are no values here, okay, and you have some limited values here. So depending upon how you write the numbers, you can map it onto a 3 cross 3 grid or a 5 cross 5 grid or whatever. The reason I said 3 cross 3 grid is it's easier to understand from a first principle. So you have values at 0 here, you have the second value is nothing but 0.5 on or off. Okay, 1, then 0, then 0, then 1, 0, 1, 1 and 0. So there could be some, I mean it's a 3 cross 3 grid. So if it is 5 cross 5, it will be even more deeper. So 1 can probably be written as 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and then it's a 15 cross 15 comma 15. So it's going to be basically be a 5 cross 5. Okay, so 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, and then 1, 0, 1, 2, etc. So you can have a 5 cross 3 grid or whatever, and then you can try to get some values here. So probability of y, okay, so you have to basically estimate probability of y given the feature vector is directly proportional to probability of y multiplied by probability of this intensity at a particular position given y. So exactly trying to assume Bayes theorem. So how do I compute? So this is your general Bayes model. So probability of y. So you have to find out what is going to be y. That is, you have to recognize the digit. Given what? Given that you have f1 to fn. That is, given the feature vectors, you have to find out what is this digit. So probability of y given f. Okay, f is your feature vector. So that is nothing but probability of f given y into probability of y divided by probability of f. Okay, so that is going to be your situation. So depending upon which is maximized, you can consider that is going to be your digit. So okay, so this is going to be your situation. So here it is, the model is very simple because it doesn't talk about, it talks about the relationship between the features and the label. It doesn't talk about the relationship between amongst the features. So for example, you talk about spam filtering, spam or ham classification. It says if you have jargons, it is spam. It says if you have some rupees 1 crore etc or dollar 1 million etc, it's going to be spam. Okay, it says if it is all caps, it can be spam. But it doesn't talk about whether there is a relationship between this jargons and the rupees available here, or there is a relationship between the rupees and the caps available. For some problem statement, it will definitely make an impact, especially medical diagnosis. Okay, medical diagnosis, there is definitely relationship among the features which has not been considered by this name-based model. Okay, so that is why we talk about this as a number of parameters is linear in n, and the model is very simplistic but often works for many applications. You have to specify how each feature depends on the class. Okay, so each features in the class dependence alone is going to be considered, and not the relationship among the features is considered. So here the goal is to compute the posterior. Okay, what is this called as? Probability of A given B is equal to probability of B given A into probability of A divided by probability of B. So this is defined in terms of A prior probability, likelihood, and backward. So you are trying to compute the posterior probability of Y given F1 to Fn, and that is dependent upon probability of Y1 given feature I given Y1, probability of Y2 given features and Y2, and probability of Yk. This is your prior probability. This is your posterior probability. So depending upon which is got maximum amongst the available classes, you will say that this feature set belongs to that particular class. For example, if you have numbers from 0 to 9, and supposing say it belongs to 1 with the probability, or rather 8, the probability of 0.6, and to 9 with the probability of 0.7. So you automatically choose it as 9. The digit is more likely to be 9 than it to be 8. I do not know. Somebody might have written it incorrectly or not. Doesn't matter. Or it is 8 written incorrectly. For example, like this. Okay. So there is this. The curve is missing here. Therefore, it might be interpreted as 9 rather than something else. That is also a possibility. That is why we have to analyze what we have basically done. What do we need in order to use naive Bayes? So you basically have an inference method. It starts with a bunch of probabilities, probability of Y and probability of Fi given Y, and then you use standard inference to compute probability of Y given F1 to Fn. So there is no speciality here. It is simply trying to compute the probabilities, and when a new target comes into picture, you simply compute the probability, multiply it, and then get your final result established. Okay. Probability are collectively called the parameters of the model and denoted by theta. So here the model is nothing but the values of the probabilities. Okay. So let us try to do that. So conditional probabilities. So probability of Y. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 0.1 to 0.1 only completely. And say this is going to be number 3. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you compute later, given this particular image, what is the probability that it is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, etc. up to 0. You compute the probability. So this has got, it is 4 with the probability of 0.3, 5 with the probability of 0.8, etc. So you basically say that, it is 4 with the probability of 0.3, 5 with the probability of 0.8, etc. What is that? This f of 3, 1 will be enabled with these probabilities. Okay, will be enabled with the probabilities as this. So 1 will not have this cell enabled. 2 will not have this cell enabled. 4 will have this enabled. The probability of 0.3. 5 will definitely have this cell because 5 is like this, right? So 5 will definitely have this cell enabled. 6 definitely yes. Okay. 7, 8, 8 is also fine because like this. Okay. 9 again depending upon how you write 9, and 0 definitely again because this is going to be the complete situation. So you will have these probabilities already computed and kept for something. Now again this is for 5, the cell 5, 5 will be enabled with the probability of 5, 5 is equal to on given Y. Okay. So what is Y? Y is this number 1 to 9, 0 to 9 rather, and it will be enabled with the probability of this one. So what you do here is you have to collect the you have to collect data. So irrespective of whether it is going to be a spam classification or ham classification, or you talk about number recognition, etc., you collect the data and you have to hand label with spam or ham labels. Okay, that is the last thing, scenario. So then you split the data into training and testing set. So you have a huge collection of records. For example, you have 1000 emails. Okay, you need to split that into a ratio of 80-20 normally. One more scenario is there, which is called as 60-20-20. 60% is for the training data, 20 is for validation. So where you can remove, modify the model parameters, and this 20 is for testing. Now, what if this 60% of data is going to be not having any outlier, and what if this 20% has got all outliers? Your algorithm is gone for a toss. That is why we normally go for a k-fold cross validation. The basic principle is you should not test on the data that has already been trained. For example, you have some 1000 records, 1 to 600. Okay, let me come back to this validation later. Let us say you're going to do a split of 80-20. 1 to 800 will be used for training and constructing the model, which is the probability values. And then from 801 to 1000, you will use for testing. This is the first round. Second round, what you do is you start training from 101 to 900 and then use 1 to 100 and 901 to 1000 for testing. This is the second fold. Then third fold you can do. Normally people go even for a 10-fold cross validation. Okay, you try to do all combinations and then you can even go for 10-fold, or people go for 4-fold, okay, 6-fold, whatever it is. So, and you find out the accuracy in all the 10 folds and then do an average. That is your actual accuracy. Okay. So what you can do is for the 10-fold cross validation, you can train using 60%, 20% can be used for validation, which is going to be acting like your testing set, and then you can do some 5-fold cross validation and then get the accuracy. Once it is done, then it is supposed to get 100% accuracy for this 20% testing set. That is also people try. So here, whatever you are using it for training should not be used for testing. Okay. Supposing, say, you are talking about photos, you give one photo to the machine to learn the features, and then you give the same photo some 5 or 6 times, and then you give the same photo taken at age 5, taken at age 10, taken at age 15, etc. And then it tries to learn the features. Okay. Now, when you are going to give something for testing, you should give a totally new face, totally new photo, and not what it has already learned. It is easier for it to say that it is you if it has seen the face already. So you should give it a photo which is totally new. Okay, that is what we normally do. That is why it says that test it on new emails which is not being seen by the machine already. So naive Bayes for text is typically going for a bag of words approach. Bag of words is you have just a collection of words, okay, and then you can try to go in for predicting what is going to be the nature of the document. Okay, supposing you want to predict it as positive or negative document. Sentiment analysis. Is the document talking about positive or negative? Or spam ham classification. Is the document a spam email or a ham email? So you can just look at the words collection, okay, and then try to, okay, in spam ham you have more than that, but again it is going to be header, etc., which is going to be again a bag of words approach. Okay, so you normally go in for a generative model here, which is probability of y given w1 to wn will be probability of y multiplied by probability of wi given y. So I have multiple w's, therefore I just have to multiply the probabilities to get my actual model established. So here this word at position not position I, but it is not corresponding to the ith word. Okay, wi means it is not the ith word in the dictionary. It is supposing I have a sentence. First word is called as w1, second word is w2, etc. up to wn. So the bank of words approach is insensitive to word order or reordering. So you just have a collection of words. That's all. So here, what happens is in spam filtering, what are the parameters you can think of? So ham is 0.66, spam is 0.33. For example, so these are all W given spam. So these words will be not looked upon because these are just stop words. Okay. Some numbers will have probably a higher value. And where do these tables come from? It is coming from the already available records. Okay. I'll skip this example. I have a better example for you to understand. Okay. Okay, let us say that this is how my training data set looks like. Okay. So this is a huge problem. So let us understand it from a very simple perspective. So here he's talking about a sentence which is a bag of words approach. Would you like to lose weight while you sleep? Okay, that is going to be the scenario. So it is spam with the given the word is, it is 98.9% spam. That is what it basically has computed. So let us look at this simple example where we're talking about a training data set. The last column is actually your label. Okay. So you have four features here. One is the age, other one is the income, third one is the student, fourth one is the credit rating. Okay, and the last column is your this is your label. These are all your features. Okay. Now I have now only two class labels, C1 and C2. That is who buys computer as yes and who doesn't buy computer as no. Okay. Now this is my test data. Now this is my training data. So what I have to basically do is I have to find out age is one feature. Okay. And age has got three groups. One less than or equal to 30, 31 to 40, greater than 40. And similarly, income has got 1, 2, 3, high, medium and low. And student is yes or no. Is he a student or not a student? And credit rating is fair and excellent. Now, I have to basically compute the probabilities. Okay. Now, my final answer is what? I have to, given this data X, okay, I have to put it into class 1 or class 2. This is my final result. Now, what is this trying to be? Probability of X given C1 into probability of C1 divided by probability of X. Similarly here, probability of X given C2 into probability of C2 divided by probability of X. Now X has got multiple features, so we'll come back to that later. Now what I should do is, I should compute probability of C1 and C2 for sure. What is C1 and C2? C1 is it buys computer, C2 is it doesn't buy computer. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 records. Out of the 14 records, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 5 no's. So probability of C1, which is the prior probability, is nothing but 5, there are 5 no's, okay. So 9 yeses, 9 by 14, and probability of C2 is equal to 5 by 14. Now, okay, now I have to find out probability of X. Okay, let us look at probability of X here. This is your feature, okay. So probability of age less than or equal to 30. This is 1x actually. Probability of age 31 to 40. Probability of age greater than 40. Again, there are 14 records. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have got less than 30. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 have got greater than between 31 and 40. So 5 by 14. This is 4 by 14. This should be 5. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. I compute probability of X for this age group only. Okay. So this is one feature. This is another X. I mean, age is a feature. Age has got 3 levels. One is X11, X12 and X13. Okay. Now, you have to use the corresponding feature depending upon what the probability is. Then probability of X given C1 is equal to probability of C1 given X into probability of X divided by probability of C1. Okay. Now I have to do this together. So probability of X given C1 is this one. So I know probability of C1. Now let us take X as age less than 30. Given C1. C1 is buying computer. So this is probability of Y given age less than 30 multiplied by probability of X. X is 5 by 14, which is age less than 30, divided by probability of buying computer. So if you do this math, you can do it like this also, or there is an alternate ways also, but anyway, just doing it. So probability of Y given age less than or equal to 30. Now what is yes, okay. So probability of Y given age less than or equal to 13. These two probabilities we already know. So C1 is 9 by 14, X is 5 by 14 multiplied by, look at this combination, probability of Y given age less than or equal to 30. So I have 3 S's here. All these are not less than or equal to 30. I have 1 S here. Okay. Age less than or equal to 30 and only 1 yes. So out of 5 people age is not equal to 30, only 1 has basically got a yes. Okay. So that is what is having. Huh?
You are having 2 S's for age less than or equal to
2.
Yes, ma'am. Fourth record from the last is also less than or equal to 30.
Oh yes. Okay. Sorry. 2. So 2 by 5. So you cancel out these two. This is cancelled. That is going to be 2 by 9. So probability of age less than 30 given yes is this one. So you compute again probability of age less than 30 given no. That is going to be probability of no given age less than 30 into probability of age less than 30 divided by probability of no, which is equal to 2 by 5. Therefore, this is going to be 3 by 5 multiplied by this we know 5 by 14. This we know. This is also 5 by 14. This will be 3 by 5. So, like that, you have to evaluate all the probabilities. Age less than 31 to 40, you can evaluate yes and no. So, you will have this value being computed. Okay. Now, what is that I have to calculate? I have to categorize age less than or equal to 30. So, this is one probability. I can also do for probability of 31 to 40 given yes and probability of 31 to 40 given no, which is probability of yes given 31 to 40 into probability of 31 to 40 divided by probability of yes. And this is again probability of no given 31 to 40 into probability of 31 to 40 divided by probability of no. So yes is 9 by 14, this we know. This is 5 by 14, this we know. 31 to 40, how many people are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people are there. How many yes and how many no? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 yeses and 0 no's. So this is going to be 4 divided by 14. 4 by, 0 by 14 multiplied by, this is going to be 4 by 4. This is 0 by 4. So you can look at this as 4 by 9. This is equal to 0. Okay. So like that you can estimate all the probabilities for each of the features. We'll discuss this tomorrow. I think we are already overshot on the time. Okay. So we will discuss this tomorrow. Tomorrow morning 10:30 you will have class. Yeah. Thursday morning you can use it for your lab. Thursday I don't want to teach.
Okay, ma'am.
Thursday you can use it for your lab. Okay. So tomorrow 10:30 class you will be there. 11:20 you can start working on your project. I will assign the project tomorrow and then we'll try to, you can use it. Tomorrow will be the last exercise on Prolog. Then you will be working on the project only. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.